there's something going on in the news related to MI6. I feel like I read it, but I don't remember it. Do you know what I'm talking about?
So, speaking of unfair advantages, AI. So, MI6 doesn't talk a lot in the press, not like...
MI6 didn't even acknowledge they existed until 1989. Is that what it was? Or 98? I feel like it was something in... I feel like it was
96.
96?
Yeah.
They were a truly secret organization until then.
Even though we all knew about James Bond, but...
Details.
Details. But yeah, so MI6 had like a... there was like a rare... conference where they talked about a bunch of stuff. And one of the things they talked about was using AI to combat the Russian threat. And I think we've probably all known that this was going to come, that, AI, there's so many uses for AI, and that, of course, AI can be used for intelligence purposes as well. What I found fascinating was that there was a conversation about how, even though AI is starting to be used to combat intel threats, to combat military threats. Even though, open source is being used so much more against intelligence threats, the human factor for, humans, like collecting intelligence through human efforts is still the core. The gentleman from the MI6 was saying that you have to have human intelligence collection. Nothing will ever replace it, right? You can't, it's like the difference between like a combat medic in my mind, the difference between a combat medic and a plastic surgeon, right? The combat medic, I see it as like your technical collection, right? Like your technical collection and your AI, anything like that, it's very broad, right? Your combat medic just wants to make sure you don't bleed out on the field, right? But your plastic surgeon goes in with this tiny scalpel
to reconstruct
and to make your face or your body look a very specific way.
Yeah. Not like your face.
Not like your face. Face off.
Face off. Nick Cage. I grew up with some Nick Cage.
I know.
You grew up with some Nick Cage.
You gotta love it. So the plastic surgeon is the human intelligence officer, right? You can use them very strategically to go in and do these very specific intelligence collection efforts that no technical resource could ever do. As fancy as AI seems to be, no technical resource can ever get themselves into a room with an adversary that doesn't know who they are and collect the information they need and report it back.
Yeah, what's really interesting is, as we look towards the future, there was a question when you and I were active at CIA. We started in 2007, we left in 2014. During those years, there was a lot of open debate about whether or not human intelligence collection would ever be sunsetted. Like, is it even relevant anymore? When technical collection was evolving so quickly and technical devices and technical tools were so superior to human beings. And by the time that we left, I think we had proven, based off of the last assignment that we had before we left, which nobody knows about yet, but inshallah, they'll know about soon enough. We'd proven like no human intelligence is the bedrock, right? It may not be the most powerful. It may not be the widest reaching. It may not be the fastest acting. But it is absolutely one of those core pillars of all source intelligence collection.
Yes.
And as I look to the future with AI, because when somebody says AI is going to be used to combat a threat, like, what does that really mean?
It means you're just going to do a big data pool.
It's exactly. What it means is you're going to scrape a bunch of data. AI is going to process all that data and spit out a result. It also means you're going to create fake news. You're going to create fake media. You're going to create deep fake videos. Like, you're going to do all these things against your opponents.
Yeah.
It just sounds way better to say we're going to combat the Russian threat rather than we're going to covertly influence the Russians. It sounds way better to say we're going to combat the threat rather than we're going to mess with the bad guys, right? But that's what we're talking about with AI. It's going to take human beings because human beings are the decision makers. Human beings are the ones who set the strategy and the strategic vision.
Yeah.
Human beings are the ones that can actually tell you how the tool is going to be implemented. Technical collection only ever tells you what the tool is currently doing.
Yeah.
It doesn't tell you the plans and intentions of what the tool will do in the future. It takes a human being to tell you that.
Yeah. And even if AI gets to the point where you can train it to reliably do those things, because you can see even now, AI takes training, it's not perfect, it's already glitching. You know, I'm certain many years away from AI being able to replace a human in any respect.
I don't know if it's many years.
You still need human beings to make that human connection
to another human being. Oh, but do you? Holy smokes. What goes through my mind right now is all the current AI simulations. They're not even AI based. They're just algorithmic simulations. There are digital girlfriends.
I've read this.
Digital boyfriends.
Yeah.
Right? Where people can essentially train a bot to be their boyfriend, girlfriend, best friend. I'm pretty sure I've read a story recently about like a beta program that was doing this. And then they decided to disband it because of ethical issues that they were having. And the public outcry, the people who had dedicated their time to grooming this digital boyfriend or digital girlfriend was horrible. Like they were heartbroken because they had trained a bot to speak to them, to acknowledge them like a robot, an artificial intelligence, an algorithm had built a real relationship with people. And I'm not saying that that's because the algorithm was so good or the AI was so smart, as much as I'm saying it's probably because the person was so fundamentally flawed in terms of their understanding of healthy relationships. Not their fault. Trauma does what trauma does. And people don't always come out of trauma well. But like your statement was that AI will never be able to replace the human connection. And I wonder if it already has in some cases. And it's provable.
I think it's an interesting question. And I think you have to think about how over the next few generations, how people are going to change, right? Because the people who are currently in power, who have the intelligence that we want to collect, they're aging. So as AI develops and gets better, and as the current people in power age out and younger people who maybe have a different relationship with AI start to take power, it's a very interesting question of, you know, right now, if you want to get in a room with Xi Jinping, you're not going to do it through an AI robot girlfriend, right? But 40 years from now, whoever's in power, maybe they came up through a generation where having an AI relationship is a normal thing. Right? And then so until will change, though it also makes me ask the question of the type of people who get into positions of power, the type of people who take intelligence jobs, because there's a profile of people who work in intelligence. Right. There's a profile of people who work in politics. Are those the kind of people who would develop these types of relationships with AI? My current guess, though I might be just aging myself, is that they wouldn't be. And that for that level of intelligence gathering, you would have to still be with them in person. It's still going to be a human-to-human connection, having a drink with them, being friends with them. I don't know that it will get to a point where those people in those positions are going to be the kind of people who are going to let down their operational security for an AI relationship.
I'm just going to hope that you're right. I'm pretty sure I disagree with you.
Yeah?
I'm pretty sure I disagree with you. I do disagree with you. And I will tell you why. And then we can move on, because I don't want to turn this whole thing into a debate about what if, right? But so we've already seen politicians and military people compromise themselves because of personal flaws, coping mechanisms, alcohol, drug abuse, prostitution, women, affairs, whatever, right? Men, whatever it might be. So we've already seen them compromise themselves for these various motivators. Many of those motivators are just being automated, right? Like how many porn sites exist right now? How many dark websites? You have mail order drugs, for crying out loud, through Tor, right?
Yeah.
Like there's all sorts of tools, and AI is just going to make it that much easier for those tools to operate effectively, operate intelligently, operate securely. Not to mention the fact that if you think it, we may only be like 5 to 10 years away from teachers teaching with AI tools, right? Because I know our son, I love our son to death. He has a unique relationship with learning. Love-hate, little bit of relationship with learning, right? Mm-hmm. If there was an online tool where we could sign up for a subscription model, who knows what, and an AI intelligent engine essentially adapted to him to teach him in the optimal way just for him, because that's what AI will allow us to do, right? Optimize on an individual level. And it could ask him a few questions. It could have a few engagements. It could give him quizzes and games. And all of a sudden it would know this is exactly how this boy likes to learn. And then boom, it could just feed him exactly the way he likes to learn. We homeschool. So right now, you and I are the ones in there hitting our heads against the wall like, I thought he liked this. I thought he liked this. It's very hard for us to adapt. It's very easy for an AI engine to adapt. And I'm not saying AI is going to replace teachers, but now all of a sudden one teacher can have 15 times as many students when he has the proper engine to personalize the learning experience, right? So imagine 2 generations, 3 generations from now, the people who will be voted into Congress, the people who will be voted into the Senate, they will have been raised from a very young age in close proximity to AI-powered solutions.
Right.
They're going to have the same 3 compromises everybody else has.
Yeah.
Drugs, alcohol, and sex. If you like this short clip, make sure you click here to see the next clip or here to see the full podcast episode.
Freedom! So fresh, so new. Freedom!